have to cover Velvet. As you guys can see, Velvet is at 80 cents, up 160% in the last 24 hours. And that is pretty big. And then inside the last 7 days, 625%. In the last 2 weeks, 762%. In the last 30 days, 764%. So yeah, we definitely got to cover this. I've been seeing everybody's been talking about this thing. It's at $332 million market cap, $70 million in trading volume. So what is going on with Velvet? And again, remember, I'm not a financial advisor, but let's talk about this. This is definitely a nice project. It's seeming like it's pumping a lot. It is on BNB. Anything on BNB, I always take a step back and be like, hold up, what is this? But it's on BNB, so you got to be careful with that. But yeah, it is inside the top trending projects today. It's at number 4, rank number 4. And it is also in the top gainers today at rank number 3 inside of the top gainers. So we have that as well. So it's doing pretty well. It's in the top for almost everything out there. And then you can also see here with the wallet, we have about 14,000 holders here, 14,000 wallets. And that is up 1,000 from 2 weeks ago. It was at 13,000 2 weeks ago. So that's a pretty big increase. The top 100 wallets have a 99.74% concentration. So that's not good. Out of 14,000 wallets, the top 100 have 99% of the coins. So yeah, that's not good. The whale concentration, 98.88%. So that's not too well. It also says here the top 5 holders have 80% of the coins, well, 80.79. And then the top 10 holders have 88% of the coins. So that is definitely something you'd want to be careful about. I'm sure this top one right here is associated with the trading platform, because if you guys didn't know, Velvet is a trading platform, right? It's like a AI trading platform. You can also trade on it without AI if you want. But yeah, it's pretty simple. DeFi, purpose trading, all that other stuff. Pretty much everything that people love and care about inside of the crypto market. Now, this is the platform here. You can come here and search through it yourself. Trade smarter with AI, as you can see here. That's what their motto is: trade smarter and bigger with AI. You can try the platform out, but the reason why they're pumping is partially to do with their platform. So SpaceX is IPOing into the stock market, and that's kind of why we've been seeing some of these projects just dumping, right? We've been seeing a bunch of stocks dumping, and we've been seeing crypto dumping, right? So a lot of people have been talking about this, a lot of people in the financial sector, like the top people in the financial sector, and they've all been talking about how liquidity is exiting the top stocks, the Mag 7 as they like to call, or whatever you like to call them, the S&P 500, all the big companies up there. They're all selling off right now, and people are saying it's because they're getting ready for the SpaceX IPO. People are putting their money there because supposedly it's going to launch at $135 per stock. So that's what's happening with the SpaceX IPO. Also, shout out to someone in the comment section that has been mentioning this. Jimmy Durham has been mentioning that we have to talk about SpaceX. And I think it's important because if all of the liquidity is leaving stuff like the S&P 500, it's leaving all these different stocks, it's leaving crypto market, and it's all going into the SpaceX IPO. Supposedly it's supposed to IPO at like $1.5 trillion market cap. So where does $1.5 trillion of liquidity come from, right? It comes from the markets. It comes from the S&P 500. It comes from the NASDAQ. It comes from Bitcoin. There's a reason why Bitcoin is dumping and why everything is dumping right now. So this is what happens inside of the markets. There's always a shift in liquidity, and now the liquidity is shifting inside of SpaceX. So that SpaceX IPO is pretty important. And the reason why I'm talking about the SpaceX IPO in the Velvet video is because Velvet is now creating on their trading platform, on their perps trading platform, they are now creating something where you can actually trade the IPO before it launches. So now you can trade SpaceX pre-IPO launch. You can't do that in a traditional stock market, but inside of the crypto market, they have tokenized it and they've made it so that you can now trade the SpaceX, the SpaceX IPO. And then we also have OpenAI IPO. OpenAI is the company that owns ChatGPT. So we're seeing liquidity exiting the traditional markets, the stock market, going into these risky stocks. SpaceX, owned by Elon, OpenAI, they own ChatGPT, And Anthropic, they own Claude. And Claude is the other AI platform that actually creates code, and you can create websites and you can create a lot of different stuff with Claude. And that's also IPOing as well. So we're seeing all of this money is going to be flowing into SpaceX, OpenAI, Anthropic. And what Velvet is doing here is now they have made it possible for you to trade pre-IPO with leverage on Velvet. So yeah, that's a pretty big thing, and that is why Velvet is up so much. That's why we're talking about it today. So yeah, big shout out to everybody who mentioned this project, and also big shout out to Jimmy Durham again for talking about SpaceX. I think that's going to be a pretty big opportunity, and that's where all the liquidity is going. But I would not buy it on IPO. Buying SpaceX on IPO would be a huge mistake, in my opinion. I mean, maybe it goes from 135 to like 160, right? But that doesn't justify it enough for me to buy it. I mean, just look at what happened when Robinhood IPO'd, Webull. Every single stock that IPOs typically goes up the first week, and then after that, it goes down for like the next year, and then it starts the actual growth of the company. Now look at Robinhood after all of that stuff has happened with Robinhood, right? Now that everything that has happened with how Robinhood has happened, it's now stable and it's sitting at $87. But when Robinhood first IPO'd, that was the biggest thing. It was almost as big as what people are looking at with SpaceX, and it dumped, right? It went all the way from $86 down to $7, right? You could have scooped up Robinhood at $7, and then when it went up to $155, you could have sold at, well, $153, you could have sold up there. So that is why you don't want to buy at the IPO. You want to wait until it IPOs, let it stay on the market for a few months, let it bottom out, and then you want to get in on it. Now I know SpaceX is a little bit different. OpenAI is a little bit different. Anthropic, they're these big ground-changing companies where they're supposed to change the future. But Robinhood changed the future of trading. So I think that we can still relate it to Robinhood. Now that's all I really got to say about the SpaceX thing, and that's really why Velvet is pumping, just because of that. Like, everyone's super happy to be able to trade SpaceX, OpenAI, and Anthropic on there. So, it's obvious that it would pump because of that. But a few people think that it's pumping for other reasons, right? There's some people out there that think that it's pumping for other reasons. So let's just go over some of the Velvet stuff, though. So 2024 trading meme coins on Velvet? No. 2024 trading SpaceX IPO on Velvet. That's pretty much what they're posting. And this is the type of marketing scheme that they're going with. So then they can get more people to join onto Velvet. So this is really all it is like a marketing scheme. Like, let's get SpaceX, ChatGPT, Claude, let's get all of that on here, right? So you can trade those in tokenized forms. So yeah, and they also created their new social fi app, as they call it, Velvet X, which is an invite only app, but it's called Velvet X, and they're doing that on there. So that's pretty cool. And they're just doing a lot of stuff, and it's just all starting to pile up at once. But there might be some malicious actors in the background, which we are going to talk about that in a second here. Also, Velvet X is still invite only, up to 100% cash back, 2.7 million Velvet rewards this summer, 13 million plus smart wallets. So that is interesting. But yeah, let's talk about this though. This guy says, why is Velvet going up? I took a deeper look today and found an interesting wallet. Around 3 months ago, this wallet received roughly 73 million Velvet coins, which is about 17% of the circulating supply. Over the last 3 days, it has been distributing those tokens to BitGet, KuCoin, and several fresh wallets. So far, it has moved around 38 million tokens and still holds 36 million tokens. What caught my attention is that when I checked the BitGet wallets involved, the tokens were being transferred into cold wallets. In the chart below, you can see the increase in the amount held by the cold wallet. We've seen similar patterns before in a number of scam style rallies. That's what this person is calling. So I kind of agree. And, I looked at some of this stuff too. And I agree. Like, they're sending coins off to these other wallets. And that's why I'm always super, super careful with any of these coins, especially on BNB. When these coins on BNB come out, like the people who are building them might have good intentions, but somebody gets in super early. Maybe somebody who's building sends coins somewhere else, right? I just know it's just super easy for them to do this. It's super easy for them to do this and start dumping on people. This is the wallet that he's talking about. And yeah, he's right. Look, $322,000, $358,000. And look, all these transactions are 5 hours ago. $300,000, 342,000, 311,000, 354,000, 289,000, and all that is 5 hours ago. And then also 2 days ago, they were dumping as well. Well, they're sending to other wallets, but I'm pretty sure when you click it, they're then sending it to stuff like KuCoin and selling it for cash. See, and this is what you call in the trading world, you call this wash trading, right? You're washing your transactions. And this is a way for people to hide the fact that they're dumping. So this person is pretty much dumping into the market, but they're sending it to other wallets to make it seem like they're not the ones dumping, but they are the ones dumping, and they're doing it the whole time. Like 5 hours ago, and they've already pushed off like $3 million or like $4 million, right? And as you can see here, they're doing it. Sold right here, straight to KuCoin, straight for cash. So they're dumping on people. I would be extremely careful with Velvet. This is just a trendy narrative right now because people are looking at the SpaceX, the OpenAI, and the Anthropic thing. Like they're doing those IPOs and they're doing pre-IPO trading, which is making it trending everywhere. So people are like, oh, let's go to Velvet. Let's go to Velvet. And then now in the background, they have somebody who works with Velvet just dumping on people. Just dumping on people, selling to KuCoin, directly to KuCoin for millions and millions of dollars. They're literally scamming people. So that's all I got to say about that. And yeah, I definitely agree with this person, Ox Knox, on this. I think that a lot of people need to see this because, you know, this is kind of looking fishy now. I'm going to go ahead and repost this, but shout out to him. Now, the next thing, someone else said it here, just saw Velvet pumping over 800% in less than 10 days, which is kind of impressive in this market. Said it's kind of like Lab, the same thing that Lab did. So, yeah, if it's the same people behind Lab, we know that Lab is dumping right now. So we know that this is probably going to dump too. So just get ready. It does have a lot of similarities to Lab. So if there's any similarities, it'll probably dump right beside it. And someone else is also noticing the similarities between Lab and Velvet. So it is what it is. You just got to be extremely careful in these markets. But anyways, let's talk about the technicals for the people that actually care about going over the technicals for Velvet. So just to look at this, I'm going to just say that this thing might have reached its peak, or it might be a Lab situation where the peak is extremely high. So if that is the scenario, then the peak for Velvet could be $4.60 at the top of the Fibonacci's, right? Because I took our Fibonacci's from the swing low to the swing high. And what does it do? It brings us all the way up there and shows the top of that as $4.50. So I don't know if this can get all the way up to $4.50, but if it can get up to $4.50, that would be a huge gain from right now. Now, I'm going to say it right now. They're pumping and they're dumping this thing. This thing is pumping and dumping. It's a pump and dump, right? They're pumping and they're dumping it right now. So the real question is, how far is it going to pump before it dumps, right? Now, we have a few ways to figure this out. Now, if you look at this is the MACD. We're seeing some buying pressure coming in right here on the MACD. We might be creating some type of bullish divergence or bearish divergence. So when you look at this diagram here, bearish divergence is higher highs on the charts with the price, right? The prices are creating higher highs, and then we're having lower highs on the MACD. So if we have another lower high on the MACD here, that could be the creation of bearish divergence, right? That could be the creation of bearish divergence, and that would mean we should get another higher high on our chart, right? And if it does do something like that, what if it does it another time? And that's kind of how Lab worked out, right? That's exactly what happened with Lab. You know, Lab used divergence to its benefit, and then it just pretty much went up with the divergence. Like if you come back here and you look at Lab, all right, let's come back here and look at Lab and look at the divergence on Lab for our MACD, right? This is when it started. What do you see here on the MACD? You see a high right here, right? And then you see divergence. So this is what I mean by bearish divergence. Now you're seeing this is a higher high, and this is the lower high, and then it kind of just gets smaller and then it sells off. And then when you look right here, same thing. We're creating higher highs on the chart and lower highs on the MACD. So that's what you're seeing there with Lab, and that was the whole entire time it pumped. It kept doing the divergence strategy, right? It kept diverting and diverting and diverting until it couldn't divert anymore. And then boom, it would pump huge again. And then what would it do after that? It would divert until it couldn't divert anymore. And then we would see the same exact thing happen the whole entire time we here at Lab. And we just now did it again. The same bearish divergence, right? And it just broke down from there. So that's pretty much what we seen for Lab. And that's why you've seen the price the whole time was pumping hard. The only time the price did not pump hard and started to dump hard is when you've seen it switch, right? When you've seen the divergence switch into bullish divergence. And now you're creating lower lows on the charts and higher lows on the MACD, right? You're creating these higher lows on the MACD, and then you're creating these lower lows right here on the chart. The lows kept getting lower over there. So that would be the only difference there. So if we went and equated this to what we have going on with Velvet, then we can probably see something similar like that could happen, right? So we could create some higher highs here if we get a lot of buying pressure, right? If the selling pressure stops and we get a lot of buying pressure coming back in, we could create these new higher highs. And if it stays up inside of this buying area and it keeps staying in this buying area on the MACD and it does not come down here, then we could do something similar to Lab. So my last thoughts on this is that, yes, I think that Lab is a pump and dump, but I think this pump and dump might have a little bit more to pump before it dumps. All right, so that's what I think about Velvet. Maybe it pumps now, maybe it doesn't, but it's a real roll of dice situation trying to get it up to $4.50. But if it's anything like Lab, then $4.50 is not far-fetched. And a lot of people are comparing it to Lab. So that would put, let's do that math for the market cap. So we would just multiply that by $4.50. That would put it at a $1.8 trillion market, or a $1.8 billion market cap, which is pretty much the same exact market cap that we seen Lab at. Lab pretty much did the same exact thing and went up to that same, near the same general market cap. It's still up there, actually. It's at 2.7 billion inside of market cap, but it did go higher than that. And then the fully diluted value is 8.7 billion. So maybe this thing could go up even higher, right? Lab went all the way up to $17.85. And the market cap for Lab went all the way up to $5.4 billion. And now it's at 2.7 billion. So like I said, I think Velvet has a lot more room to go. And I think this might be another one of those super pumps, right? Like this might actually pump super hard, or it might dump super hard because they're already dumping it. And that's why I say you got to be careful with stuff like this. They're already dumping it. I already showed you the proof, and well, that one guy showed us the proof, and then I just kind of regurgitated what he said. But you've seen the proof. They're dumping on everybody and they're selling. They're literally pulling the rug. So I would be extremely careful with that one. So yes, I do think that there could be more to this pump, but no, I will not be risking my own capital on it. So that's pretty much where we're at with it. I won't be buying this thing myself, but I do think that it might go up more, but it's too risky. So I'm not going to do that. So anyways, let me know how you guys think about this. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor and none of this is financial advice. Be careful. This thing pumped 800% inside of a week. So it could dump massively right now, or it could keep going massively. So have at it with that. Go ahead and check out the link in the description though for Chart Prime, best automated trading indicators in the game. And also check out the link in the description for Avantis if you want to do some DeFi perps trading on the Base network. And this is all I got for you guys today. As always, I'll be back with another video.